All right, hello, hi everyone. Welcome to MSD at Home with Guinée and Potin architects. I'm George Stojanovic, senior lecturer in architectural design here at the Faculty of Architecture, Building and Planning. Before we start, I want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this event is taking place, which may be multiple lands given the location of all of you, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. We acknowledge and respect that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people had and still have laws that predate colonization. We join in their tradition to care for country as built environment and design experts, and thank our traditional owners for sharing their knowledge. Now, my pleasure is to introduce Anne-Flore Guinée and Hervé Potin, who are here with us today, representing Guinée Potin Architects. It's a 20-year-old practice from Nantes, Bretagne. It's a northwest region of France. The work is diverse, it's awarded, well published. They will be talking about their housing projects, social housing in particular. They were also well known for other work they've done with public buildings. They're celebrated for innovative use of building materials and relationship between their architecture and landscape. So without further ado, I will hand it over to our guests, and we will have some time in the end, I hope, to answer a few questions. So feel free to use chat, or actually question and answer function to send your questions as early as you like during the lecture. So over to Anne-Flore and Hervé.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Georgia to invite us and introduce our work about social and sustainable housing. It's a real pleasure to be invited by the Melbourne University. So many thanks for your interest, and I'm gonna share the screen and yes, please let's find below a brief history of our background. So we are two people, and actually we are a team of 12 people at the office. We are both from Brittany and northwest of part of France. We are graduated from the architecture school of Brittany in Rennes in 1996 and 1997 for Anne-Flore. After finishing off the school, we start to work in different practices that we had interest in the research and architecture. We began by working in architectural office, and in parallel, we participate at competition, and we won several research awards with foreign residency grants through Europe and Africa. Then we have developed our architectural productions through main ideas. This slide is very important for us. It's a geographer and a philosopher, Augustin Berg, who said that modernity cut off human from this ambient culture, and that it is necessary to reconnect those two. So that's very important for us. And what is written on the screen is very, yeah, it's quite wonderful, and thinking that remind us how to reconnect people to landscape. So we take care of the epidermis, that means the skin which helps us to achieve this reconnection between our condition of human beings and the external environment. Contrary-wise of the past dogma of modernity, it's time for a reconciliation between the human and its own context by bringing back nature that has been abused by man, which now must be respected, valued, thanked, and loved. After this first slide, we're gonna show you 3 or 4 slides about early works, because we've gone to Roma in 2000 for a grant given by the Ministry of the Culture, and then we've been in Africa, especially in Ethiopia, to study about vernacular architecture. And that revealed us how to make that consideration between nature and human being, and how we can take part of this vernacular architecture and make a real interpretation in the way we want to build contemporary buildings. So this one is an example of a public building that we deliver in a few years in 2013 near Nantes for a museum about biodiversity, when we use thatch in roof and also in facade. And now we're going to present four housing buildings in Rennes, Nantes, and in La Rochelle. So in the south of Nantes, here is a map of France, and you can see we are not far from the west coast of Atlantic coast. That explain also how we can develop some projects. First one, extruded form.
So it's 16 intermediate houses with private access. We made the building in the 2005, and it was finished in 2008. It's about the surface. It's 1,140 meters square meter, and the cost it's about 1 million euro, about 2 million Australian dollar. The context is the municipality of Chantepie is just near Rennes on the screen. It's on the neighborhood of the Breton city of Rennes. All the surroundings has been built by Rennes in prevision of the increased population after the Second War. All this area was followed by an urbanist. It is located between the rural countryside and the new urbanized areas suffers. There were several projects and different types of housing, high-rise and middle-rise buildings and independent houses. The client was a promoter, and the asking was to build 16 intermediary houses with private access, garden, big terrace, and some duplex. This program was for low-cost housing. Each of these 3 buildings contain 6 and 4 housings. All are built with, we can see the plan and the scale section. We see how it works in duplex. There is, for example, bedroom on the ground, living on upstairs. We have work of something unconventional by reversing the bottom and the top. There was no composition. We were thinking more of an extruded shape. There we see on the plan, how do we say, everything is switched. There's because they have the duplex, and we have a connection with the outside. With underground, there are some garden, big garden near the landscape, and on the top there are big terrace open
on the west.
On the west. These buildings are built with concrete inside and outside with wood. You can see a sketch for the presentation. It was just at the beginning to explain the duplex. That was a strong idea for us, important to work like this. Another, and we see the structure in concrete that was made by, how do you say, une entreprise turque. No.
So this is a primary structure, and then you have all the facade and the envelope is in wood that come to envelop the primary structure. This is some photos during the construction of the building, and how it works with the outside and the landscape that we have conserved very near from the building.
Yeah.
And that the finished building, and you can see the outside stairs, and so all the apartment has got its private access from the ground floor or from the stairs for the second floor, and all are in duplex with outside space as terrace or garden on the ground floor.
They have some stairs, outside stairs. We have big window, and especially we have no cut in the window. It's a very big big one. In between the buildings, there are some space for car parking and the location to put the bike. That was a nice thing to imagine, a kind of place of when people arrive, they can put their car near the buildings, and it works like a little place where children play and they play football or the plan with the skate.
This is the duplex on the second floor with the access from the outdoor stair, and you can see how the terrace is big comparatively to the apartment, and the duplex is switched with the bedroom on the first floor.
You can see the landscape face with trees that we have keep. This side is very we say cool because there is a farm and the kind of pastoral I would say cow and atmosphere. Yeah. On the top we can see the big terrace,
and as well the solar panel on the roof for the electricity and the water, breathing water. Detail from the detail of the facade and the wood.
We used more strong wood and another wood. A little difference, but it's important for us.
Inside the apartment, we have a beautiful view on the landscape and on the trees, and all the.
You can see the sheep.
Yeah, we can see also the sheep on the outdoor. So yeah, all the view are calculated to have view on the landscape and not to have vis-a-vis with the other apartments. So it's very important for us to make take care of the quality of the apartment and on the space. For example, here on the ground floor is the duplex apartment with a double view on the room. Yeah, you can see here.
Yeah.
I pass through the image with the garden and how the projects has few years after with the wood that has become gray. The second project is a participatory housing or collaborative housing with 12 social housing for 12 families. It's near Nantes in the city of La Montagne. We just finished the project 2 years ago. for the client, le Pré Commun, which is the name of the group of inhabitants. It's a project of participative housing carried with 12 homes mixing environmental quality, affordable homes, and renewal of urban homes. So we are in Nantes. The project favors an environmental and social approach through bioclimatic design, maximizing the use of biosourced materials and efficient insulation and controlled air tightness. This is a higher view of the project, and the first visit of the site with the inhabitants that you can see here in the study developing with all the actors. Some are young, some are older, some are families, some are only alone, some are couples, some are here also. This is a site first visiting. We are in the south of Nantes, so the architecture is quite different with tiles on the roof, and we work with a landscape architect that repair all the trees that we can conserve. The program is 12 households, 12 dwellings for 14 adults, 8 children from 1 to 73 years old, and with various dwelling size and typologies. This is the plan.
It was an old farm, and it produced vegetables, because in Nantes there were production of vegetable salad especially, and that's why this parcel is like this. Before that was a farm, and we keep, and I will explain a little.
So you can see the land of the dense vegetation planted in the 60s, composed mainly of conifers and evergreen trees, and
some of them.
And the existing house is as Anne-Flore says, it's an old farm, and we decide to put the new house at the western limit of the building zone in order to put the existing common house in the center. That explains that little sketch. So the old existing building is on the east part, and we put a concentric implantation around the farm due to the desire for generous sunlight in the dwellings, a desire to control and manage the view from the interior of the dwellings towards the common spaces and the surroundings, while preserving the privacy of each individual. So maybe it's more clear here with the new building makes a concentric implantation. This location is also a way to get as far away as possible from the surrounding houses in order to limit the vis-a-vis and the acoustic nuisance. The project is based on 4 main values with the inhabitants. First one is living together. It's a densified habitat in the respect of each one. An innovative social economic structure, because the people makes together a cooperative. The second values is generational mix and solidarity, because of the diversity of inhabitants, 20 people from 1 to 72 years old, sorry. Second value is the valorization of the place. So the existing building, the activities on the site, gardening, wood maintenance, development of quality collective outdoor space with a permaculture approach. And the fourth values is the ecological dimension because of the bioclimatic concept and the passive housing only hit by wood heating. So this is the ground floor plan around the old farm, and this is all the detailed plan. Maybe I'm going to pass through quickly about the plan, but each plan has been elaborated with the inhabitants. this one is for only 2 families. There's two old people on the ground floor and the family on the first floor.
There was an ask, especially for old people, to stay on the ground because they have, how do we say, fauteuil roulant? I don't know.
Someone are handicapped. So this is the second house for 5 families. Some are on duplex. You can see the stairs on the paths on the apartment, and some are superposed apartment, one on the ground floor and one accessible on the outdoors stairs. And some are specific one because on the north of the slide you have 2 apartments for a family, but the people are separated and the children are together. So the children are on the first floor, and the parents share this floor, but are separated on the ground floor physically.
That was quite complicated for us.
And this was the third building, also with 5 apartments. Some are duplex, some are superposed apartments, and you can see one is specifically for handicapped people, accessible from the ground floor and with a greenhouse on the outside. So this is how we work also at the office with models, very detailed to explain the project with the animator and to work with them. So all the apartment was done à la carte in French. I don't know how we can say, and all are across north, south, or east, west, with outdoor space like gardens or terrace on the first floor, or greenhouse for some one of them on the ground floor.
Because we keep trees too, like Chantepie. That's why we made some. The asking was to keep it, and we put glass and outside just near the trees. More private.
So this is a detail of the construction, because the inhabitants are also us want an environmental and frugal approach. So we use a framework for all the building, and all the structure are in wood. There is no concrete, only for the floor. Sorry, and this is a detail about the terrace and the inside outside structure. So the use of the dry method by an all wood structure was quite not usual, because the site was difficult to access. And this was the better method to build the project. Also, we use the bio-sourced insulation, cellulose weighting in the framework, wood fiber outside, and biofib means flax plus hemp in lining, floor and intermediate partition. Siding in natural Douglas first floor class, and interior air coating or natural paints. We're gonna see some photo about this. This is the model of the structure, all in wood, as we say, and how it composed or decomposed for each building.
We have the chance to work with an enterprise who realized whole wood and the whole isolation and the roof too. They were very, very nice, and very cool because there were some asking during the what do you say, chantier?
Construction.
During the construction. So sometimes people say, oh, I would like a window bigger, or can I change the place of my window? And the enterprise say, we'll see. And finally they say, okay, we can move. And that was, I would say, a good feeling between us and this enterprise and the client too, because they were listened.
So you can see the volume of the houses result from the interviewing of inhabitants' wishes for use and the dense implantation dictated by the urban rules. The materials and forms used are at the service of a contemporary inclusion in a peri-urban fabric. The houses appear as cut elements, both in plan and in volume, playing with the regulatory prescription and with the surrounding materials, tiles, rendering, to better immerse the project in this context, as you can see on this arrow view. Indeed, the work of living was done à la carte, as for 12 individual houses, and the plans are therefore non-typical and all different, favoring individualized access from the center of the hamlet, crossing dwellings from east to west or from north to south, views and access to private outdoor areas to the south of west. So these outdoor areas are variable, gardens on the ground floor, terraces on the upper floor, winter gardens as an extension of the living room.
We can add, let's say, Hervé, we worked with a paysagist,
landscape
architect. They are Lalu in Nantes, and it was a big work, very big work concerning the ground and how the water, how to care the water, and the attention they put on the surroundings of these buildings are very, very important, and it makes quality, like a place, like a urban. It's very
fine.
It's very fine, and people appreciate. We can say in France it's kind of unusual because the attention is on architecture and too in landscape too. So it's very very thin.
We're gonna see some inside photo. This is a detail of the raw earth plaster that have been put by the inhabitants themselves in their apartment. So it's reinforced the way of the biosourced atmosphere inside the building. This one is the specific apartment on the first floor with a terrace on the waist, and how it comes from. For example, this one is another one on the first floor, crossing from east to west with a big terrace, and also you can see on the right the raw earth plaster on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the final aerial view with the old farm that has been refurbished by the inhabitants themselves, and the three housing that formed an hamlet inside the suburb of Nantes. So the third one is also near Nantes, in Rosé, reconciling density and landscape.
It's a collective housing, big collective housing, which is 105 housings. The surface it's about 6,460 square meter, and the cost, if we speak in Australian dollars, it's about 13 million Australian dollars. The challenges, both urban, architectural, and landscape of Block 5, the name of the operation, in the Jaguar, near Rosé, and it's in the district of Nantes. there is a big asking of how do we say, density near Nantes, and Rosé is very, very next. Its location of this operation, it's in the rural countryside and near the new urbanized area. It offers the integration of the urban project into the wider landscape. We can see on the slide on the south, there is big landscape. As Hervé, it's agriculture, but with vegetables. In Nantes, it's specific, typical, and there are many horticulture. So it's near, it's in between urban and horticulture, and you can see
greenhouses on the south
greenhouses.
of the site.
Yes. It is hamlet parcel through which one passes from the urban to the large landscape by the notion of neighborhood, live private gardens, pedestrian paths, common space. The establishment of 6 construction with specific characteristics: sickness, parking management, orientation, relationship to the surrounding buildings, treatment of the immediate surroundings, and an ambitious objective in terms of density. As follows, we respect the principles of alignment and continuity built in the ground floor, while offering a rhythmic sequence of varied templates from second floor on the park side to the third floor, more penthouse on the place de la Jaguar side. This subtle variation of size is accompanied by a volumetric composition alternating linear volumes with more compact volumes, so as to hybridize the programs without there being an immediate perception between free accession, affordable, or social housing. You can see the plan with the 6 buildings. How do you say, different? They are different. We see the gardens, or the ground was worked with a landscape architect too. That was
this is an example of plan of the collective building with a long terrace surrounding them.
2 materialities around the buildings. To the west, 2 buildings in direct contact with the park have a wooden frame clad in Douglas, natural wood cladding. 4 buildings to the south and east, more urban, are covered with pearly white paint. They play with light, returning subtle shades depending on the orientation. The attics of these latter buildings, houses on the roof, are also built in wooden frame clad with Douglas cladding. We see on the slide the wood and the white pearl. The buildings are draped in continuous balconies with white lacquered metal railings. They undulate slightly and are punctuated by private exterior storage units, punctuating the facades and creating a chromatic vibration. The buildings are punctuated in the attic by winter gardens and on the ground floor by the facade of the activity room or by a generous hall lounge on the place. The winter gardens are of the greenhouse type, composed of glass. We can see the winter gardens composed of glass elements and light frameworks, echoing the surrounding market garden landscape. The slide show the place, and it's in the center, the urban face near the building. The treatment of the facades thus offers an alternation of materials and provides a chromatic palette and texture generating a current variety of material from public space and the surrounding walking paths. All homes are north-south crossing or with double orientation, with generous outdoor space, with balconies or garden on the ground floor. We can see the access by
walkways, outside walkways. And from the square of the new neighborhood, with a huge building and these balconies outside, and on the ground floor you can have a local for activities and also a local for bicycle. After that, all the buildings are crossed by the landscape. They're gonna through the six type of housings and cross all this new block.
At the beginning, the urbanist asked us to put the car entrance on the we say just near the urban place, and finally we sorry at the first they say we put the entrance near landscape, and we say no, it's not possible. It's better to put it from the place. And we keep all the ground near the buildings for gardens, for trees, for pedestrians, and no for cars. And finally, they accept, and that was we were happy to have to say no, we can't do that. And finally, we were listened, and that was in the way it's better like this. We can see the house. At the beginning, they spoke about a shop, and finally they decide to do a kind of house to speak together or something like that, more for the people who live here.
So this is the north facade with the walkways outside to access of the crossing apartment and some duplex. For example, these houses on the roof is a specific duplex for people, and this is the two buildings all in wood with a garden on the ground floor and the big terrace on the first and second floor. And this one is the greenhouse that can see a big view on the landscape, and the old greenhouse that you can see on the backside of the photo, which means there's still an activity of horticulture in this site. So we wanted to make like an echoes of this form of greenhouse also in the project by reinterpreting that form, and also the function of this greenhouse by giving for some inhabitants like outdoor space.
We have an asking from many promoters, because there was some housing that people can buy, and there were some housing that people locate. So there were different prices of cost for this building. So that's why they are different too. And but we take care of to not show this one cost more and this one cost less. We don't we mix
all the typologies.
Yes,
yeah.
not to. And we can see the duplex and the other buildings too on the backside. Actually, we return and it's very green. People have cultivate tomatoes, apples, the flowers. It changed. It's interesting.
This is the first project. It's an urban renewal in the south of Nantes near La Rochelle for collective social housing for Habitat 17, which is the client. This is a social cooperative of inhabitants near La Rochelle in the west coast of France. More from the southwest, from Nantes, as you can see on this map. The context is Pialote Neighborhood. Pialote Neighborhood was built in the 60s, as you can see on these old photos. It's located at the entrance of Étré, a suburb of La Rochelle, along the main road called Général de Gaulle Avenue, and the neighborhood enjoys a large visibility. Today, the target of the urban renewal project, thus architectural as well as urban stakes, are big. The aim is to participate in the construction of the neighborhood's new identity regarding enriched social history and strategic location. As you can see on this old photo from the 60s, the neighborhood was typical from the architecture of the 60s. And on the back side of the photo, you have the Atlantic Ocean with large beaches. So it's very interesting site. Actually, several projects are already achieved, contributing to start transforming the area. So this 64 dwelling project is divided in 2 buildings. Is implemented in the heart of the residence Pialote, completing an urban renewal. This is the existing buildings built in the 60s, very typical from that period that you can see everywhere in the world. Built with concrete and very bad insulation, and most of them are actually destroyed, and we built new one at their place. The master plan of the project at the crossroad of various buildings types and densities. As a consequence, the process aims for a volumetric transition possible within the context, contributing to the future identity of the new Pialote streets. So this is the new plan with given by the urbanists, and how we decided to build two buildings, one of 33 apartments and the 34 apartments, sorry, and the other one of 30 apartments. Considering the multiple feature, size, parking area, orientation, relation to the nearby buildings, of the 2 setting up areas offered for each building, the ambition goal regarding density, we decided to differentiate the answer given for each building in order to make the most of their respective potentials. On the west, you can see the S building, given a later S, building facing the most imposing form of the existing building, offering a response of a more compacted monolithic volume. On the right, on the east, you have the air building through the shape of its roof, floors movements, and volume gradual transition after a new link toward Étré city center. The 2 constructions offer to the passerby sequenced facade, horizontally with long terrace and vertically with entrance and vertical flows inside the building designed as rift. This is the mass plan with the S building on the west and the R building on the east, crossing by a new street, and with the outside parking on the north of the R building. Regarding the R building on the right, the path reinterprets features of individual housing into the apartment block, passing through a fence, pushing a barrier, following an alley, taking advantage of the landscape, and entering the dwelling through a door directly open to the outside. outdoor. This is our view. Sorry, with the house building and the R building, and how we put together with the cross city and the park on the north.
These are the view made for the competition.
For the competition, yeah.
Because it was at first like not but La Jaguère in Rezé. These two projects were at first competition, and we won, and finally we built. But at first we produced some images.
Some images for the competition. Yeah. So this is the ground floor plan. Maybe we're gonna through the detail of the plan. This is the R building. So with all the apartments are accessed by outdoor corridors that allow an outdoor walk of a numerous view and support neighborly relation. Besides, they enable the railings to be a dual aspect to benefit from double or triple orientation and preserve privacy. They lead to only 6 dwellings per floor. These pontons establish a gradual distance between public and private space. In addition, displaced access to the entrance preserve the dwellings' intimacy from the traffic. The outdoor corridors give access to the dwellings thanks to private footbridge, as you can see on the plan, and all the apartments are cross north to south, accessible walkways on the north, and with a big terrace on the south. Concerning the S building, the density of the construction and the efficiency of the distribution, 8 dwellings per floor, implies a precise work regarding natural light input in each space, and especially in the communal areas. The path invented for the residents starts in a dual aspect hall, north-south oriented, completed with a northwest fragment. This cutting up in the feeding allows the creation of clear view towards north, south, and west in shared space based in light. So you can see this more compact building with the access from the inside and all the outside terrace surrounding the building. The building floors and skylights are enveloped in a natural large wood skin with facade covered with solid slats and handrails made of openwork rafters placed in an alternate rhythm. This enables to reduce linearity, to break with plan facade uniformity, and to slice the building into flowing sequence, as you can see on this view. Does the skin offer a chromatic variation of the facade and suggests thickness? Wooden cladding and handrails contribute to highlight the site as much as the material brings undeniability visual comfort with this texture and tints. Yeah, this is the facade of the S building. As you can see, there's like cellars on the with colored tint in the outdoors space that make also the separation between the privacy terrace. And as we are not far from the sea, you can see also the people that came with their boat, and they're gonna put it on the parking on the ground floor.
And also how do we say the float boat, bateau gonflable. C'est ça.
Each dwelling has a shared storage unit on its balconies, made of colored polycarbonate that animated the facade and separated dwelling. Relation to the outside is made by generously glassed facade protected by the terrace, shows the indoor space quality and the elaborated relation between inside and outside. Each dwelling becomes a belvedere. The landscape takes entirely part in the project and participates directly to the qualities of private and communal areas. You can go through some photos on the terrace and how the building looks them together. Detail of the storage unit on the balcony.
we are, we can see the concrete on the back balconies, and it stay like it was before. There's no paint, no, how to say, it's concrete brut.
Concrete for the balconies.
Yeah.
This is the walkways on the S building. Like make sometimes people play in the walkway because they are also large and people can share together.
You can see the entrance
the S building also, and how it's supported by a concrete pillar and separated by the facade that makes a belvedere near the landscape. The inside of the apartment, all the dwelling was thought and conceived from the inside in relation to the surrounding nature. Every dwelling are dual aspect or double oriented, and each space designed to benefit from natural lighting and views. Most of the dwelling are composed of two parallel parts with a clear separation between day and night space. The daytime dual aspect part includes entrance, kitchen, living room, terrace. A nighting part contains bedroom and damp rooms. Dwelling dimension enable to imagine sequenced interior arrangements in order to identify them. Therefore, permutation are possible between the kitchen, storeroom, living room, dining room. And you can see here a cross apartment between north and south with a big terrace on the south, and the storage that makes the separation between the apartment and offer the possibility to storage unity.
And to put clothes outside to get dry, which is good.
Here is some big view of an apartment with double orientation. The surprise of the project was finally from the second floor. From the second floor, we see the seaside, and that was very big surprise for us because we did not imagine that we see the seaside so near. So it was a good surprise, and you can see from this flat with double orientation and big terrace the seaside on the back side of the photo.
And in this way, in France, but maybe I don't know if in Australia it's the same, but people who live in this area are not very rich, and sometimes they never see the beach, or they never see the sea. They always stay in their area, so that for us to see the sea from the housing was I would say kind of a winning, kind of yes, it's good.
And you can see on this detail how we try to make an atmosphere of seaside with this big glass facade and cladding with the glass and the storage in colors separating all the private terrace. So this is the finish of the lecture. I hope we are in time, and we wanted to finish with this peace logo because in Europe actually it's very shocking situation for us. So yeah, it's important for us to make that sign.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Anne-Flore and Hervé. It was a beautiful lecture, and really enjoyed the selection of your work. There's lots more on your website, so for anyone who wants to see. But I think this was a very clever selection to show us what you do. Let's see if, firstly, if you grab a drink of water or something. You've been talking for almost an hour now, so yeah, this is the time to do it. And let's see if we're going to get any questions from our audience. We have a good turnout there in the background, but let's see if any questions are coming your way. Okay, there's the first one. Well, it's a serious one. Let me just try to slot in one before we go to the core. What I really find fascinating about your work is combination between rural architecture and apartment living. And I don't know if you see it that way, but I think it's very much applicable to the context that we have in Melbourne over here. And therefore, I find it even more attractive. So it shows how certain qualities that are typical for sort of rural living can be captured, even though we're talking about high density living and apartment buildings. So I think that will be very inspiring for people over here. I also think that we can draw a parallel between climates, between northwest of France and this part of Victoria, where we are, in terms of proximity of the water, of the vegetation that is thriving in those conditions, and architecture as well that relates to that. A question that I would like to ask is, you showed different projects. For instance, in the second one, in La Montagne, you were working directly with a community of residents. In the other two projects that you showed, that were bigger buildings, you were not directly working with residents. So just a quick comparison between these two conditions in terms of the design process. What are your thoughts on what's more difficult? In a sense, what gives better results?
Yeah, those projects were effectively very different because, for example, the big project in Rosé Jaguar with the duplex on the roof is also a competition, and the last one was a competition. It's very different to work directly with inhabitants and comparative to competition project, because when you make a competition, you don't know how the inhabitants will gonna react. You work with social cooperative or promoters, and it's not the same way when you work directly with the inhabitant, and you can feel the project are different also in the final form, because of the
weighting are not the same.
The weight are not the same, and the goal is not the same, and also when we work with the inhabitant, it's a co-thinking and co-conception with the inhabitant. It was very different. So the goal and the final form is very different.
Was it difficult to work with the community? Did they give you a hard time, like kind of changing their mind? We want this, we want that. Were they difficult to communicate?
It was not so easy. Yeah, because one of the inhabitants was also architect, so you can imagine he wanted to put his own design also on the project. That's why that's a specific project for the office, because you can see also it's quite different on his final design comparatively to the others. Yeah.
And it takes time. It's very long. We studied about 2 years.
2 years of study with a lot of meetings. And every 15 days we've got a meeting with the inhabitants.
With all habitants.
With all the habitants, with models, with sketch design, and with thematic meetings, and a lot of decision was taken, and sometimes the decision was not or taken, or they want to
change.
So that was not so easy.
Okay, I'm changing the topic, and I'm going to questions now. So you use a lot of wood and timber in your architecture. It's almost like your signature to projects. So there's a question here. Was the use of wood a decision for sustainability and low embedded energy? Is it driven by functionality, or there are other reasons you're using wood in your project? So.
Yeah, we use wood in a lot of projects since many years, as well for collective housing or equipment and for public building. It's make part of how we feel architecture and the way we design, because we like the relation between architecture and landscape, and how to, as we said at the beginning of the lecture, how to reconnect inhabitants with the human, with the ambient culture. And so maybe the skin of wood is important for us for this reconnection. But sometimes we use in context more urban, also concrete. We have make some building in brute concrete. So we don't use systematically wood. It depends on the context. Yeah.
And when we use wood, we take care of the aesthetics and for the drawing of the wood, how it appears. We like thin to draw, and the wood is good for that, because we can finish. So we like it for that too, and for the building too, because it's people who work wood are very they to exchange. It's I would say it's nice because they take care of how they build, and they send some drawings, and that's a good exchange.
Okay, there's a group of questions here about how your buildings are aging. One from Hella Vegan, she says, I like how your work has been designed to age beautifully. Well, I'm just going to interpret her question further in two ways. One is building materials, and the other one is usage and space organization or unit layout. So a few more thoughts on that process of aging for buildings.
Yeah, maybe as we said for the last project near La Rochelle, we generally begin the design by the inside of the apartments. We work more from the inside to the outside, and then make the reconnection between outside and inside. But the first way when we put the program together for the plant is to work from the inside to the outside, and then we worked with the way to access to the apartment, with the form of the volume, with the housing, but we couldn't see from the inside and the relation to the surrounding nature. Yeah.
We go in the mind of the inhabitants. We are habitants when we begin to draw. We think, okay, we live in it. So how it is? Because I see it's a question about Le Corbusier. That's why.
Okay, do you want to take that one? It stands now at the top of the list, but I've been kind of scrolling down. There are other questions. Feel free to pick one which you want to take. Yeah, you want to talk about Corbusier?
There's a question about how much influence did you draw from Le Corbusier? It's quite difficult because
we are not
for us, Le Corbusier has cut off the human of the context, and there's quite interesting projects of Le Corbusier. And in Nantes there is a cité radieuse in the south of Nantes, in Rezé. So we visit usually with the students the cité radieuse, and it's quite interesting because all the apartments are in duplex or are crossing north from the south. But typically when we visit that apartment with the students, they say, oh, it's very thin, it's very little, it's not comfortable. So that explains that's why we are fascinated by this kind of thinking, but it's going to be criticized, the way of building by Le Corbusier. So we are not very influenced by his work.
Let's go
but we know it.
to the easier one. This is a really precise question. What is the rationale for the paint of storage? Like, how do you choose the color? I mean, it's so striking. It works so well with wood. It gives so much to identity or architectural expression of the buildings. And we understand that those are dividers between balconies, between the different units, but they seem to be very important in how we understand the building as well.
It's for, yeah. The question is about the first project with
the I3 one.
Yeah.
Yes, the colorful.
Yeah, the answer is in the question. That's true. We wanted to make a contrast to the timber and concrete facade. And the intention is also to make an interpretation of a cause of the little storage that you can see on the west coast on the beach. So it's like an atmosphere of the seaside that we wanted to put on the balconies.
And also the enterprise. When we build the building, show some example, and they were very bright. The colors were very bright. So we choose bright colors, but there were no white or very light color. So we say, okay.
Okay, let's continue about outdoor areas. Karen is asking a question. You're very generous in both at the ground level, but also in the upper levels with those access galleries, which provide the way to get into the apartments. How are they used in real life? Do you know that we saw people storing things there? There was an inflated swimming pool hanging from the balcony on the first floor. So it's quite diverse how people decide to use them. And they obviously will always use it as a storage as well. But do you see any social activity going on there, or any interaction between neighbors?
I don't know about that, because on the private terrace in the social housing, it's used as a storage usual, because the flats are not very big, and the people used to storage on the outdoor space. When it's not for social housing, and when it's more for promoters, the clients are more rich, and when they live more, they don't occupy the terrace as a storage, but they use at a living part, and put their table to dinner or lunch. And about the walkways that make the access of the apartment, sometimes yes, we can see some people discuss or exchange or put also their bicycle on this walkway. So it's a way to make a community of the people together.
For us, it's important. Sometimes we fight with promoter, and sometimes they say, oh no,
it's too big.
It's too big. You should change. And we say we put. We can see. How do you say? It's poreux. We put light. It's not big balconies, black. No. So you can see, and they say no, because people will put for the storage. But we fight, and we say no.
Just to so I can understand, when you say promoter, that is probably government representative or somebody who's project managing for the local authorities, right? Or
it depends.
It depends on the project. The project in La Rochelle, the first one is for social housing. So it's a public government, and it's different about the project in Rosé, La Jaguère.
We are both.
The third one is for a promoter, so it's a private client, so it's more difficult to work with them.
Yeah, you really showed us a diverse number of scenarios of how architects work with different key stakeholders on projects. It's really interesting. There's a question there about vernacular architecture. Again, it's probably a similar category as Corbusier, but any thoughts about that?
Yeah, yeah, the question is about vernacular architecture influence. Yeah, of course. When we were students, and after that, when we visit, especially Africa and Ethiopia, we were very fascinated by vernacular architecture. And after that, when we came back to Brittany, we rediscover our proper architecture and vernacular architecture, and that's why we want to sometime in the project put that spirit or atmosphere in the contemporary project and reinterpreting form or vernacular form in the project. So yes, we usually when we begin also a project, we look for vernacular architecture in the site or in the context to know what we can do with that. And it's maybe clearer in the project of La Montagne with the cooperative people, when we reinterpret some basic form of the neighborhood, of the context, with the tiled roof, with the greenhouse, with the cottage form that are clearly expressed from the vernacular form.
And we are come from West Coast with our family were agriculture farmer. So we are from the country. We are not urban people. So we have lived with a cow and fields and sheep. So we that's our
but maybe
universe.
Maybe that explains also why we build specifically in the West Coast, and we didn't look for building in the south or in the east, because we don't know that the region in Europe or in France are very different, and the atmosphere are different, the vernacular architecture is different, the context is different, and maybe that's why we wanted to build in the region that we know, and that we know vernacular architecture. So that explains maybe why we are only on the West Coast. Actually.
Yeah, and it also explains why it's so beautiful and why we are so attracted to projects that you produce. Maybe we can. There's no more questions in the question and answer box, questions box. So maybe we can leave it at this. And I thank you again for being with us today. I thank everyone in the audience as well, and we hope to hear more from you and learn more about your work soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're still here. Maybe just the time to announce 2 events coming up at Melbourne School of Design. So the first one is self-built housing, prototype systems and potentials. We speak to researchers and architects working across different scales, but dealing with self-built housing systems. It's an interesting combination of researchers interested in policy, but also those who work with technology, devising new systems that enable residents to get the control of their dwellings. And the second one is Dean's lecture series, Jennifer Gabris, Atmospheric Citizens, How to Make Breathable Worlds. Super interesting topic. That's on Tuesday, 12th April, 6:30 p.m. Melbourne time. So that's it. Thank you very much for attending this event, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.